Create and Cultivate and Mastercard are excited to embark on a virtual multi-city educational roadshow as a part of their Strivers initiative, which aims to elevate the visibility of Black female business owners who are overcoming obstacles to maintain and grow their business. This spring, we'll tour Main Street across the country with local city leaders and industry experts to talk about the state of women and minority-owned business, as well as the advice and resources to help them not only survive, but thrive. Not only are these women inspiring entrepreneurs, they are role models for the community and future generations, which is why we are issuing a call to shop, share, and support them. From Los Angeles to Atlanta and New York to New Orleans, follow along with us and tune into the Strivers Roadshow as we shine a spotlight on women whose businesses you can support and celebrate today and every day. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on our first stop of the Strivers Multi-City Educational Roadshow, Los Angeles. My name is Arian Simone. I am the general partner and co-founder of the Fearless Fund, a venture capital fund built by women of color for women of color. At Fearless Fund, we are committed to helping bridge the gap in venture capital funding for women of color founders, which is why I'm thrilled to be joining forces with Mastercard and Create and Cultivate to discuss the state of Black female small businesses in cities across the U.S. and actions to foster an equitable financial system with local small business experts, community members, and small business owners. Black women-owned businesses are vital to our community. They are vital to our economy and are amongst the hardest hit by the impacts of the pandemic. The financial implications of this past year threaten the economic progress of Black female entrepreneurs and business owners alike. The Strivers initiative aims to elevate the visibility and impact of Black female business owners who are overcoming obstacles to maintain and grow their businesses. These inspiring entrepreneurs are not only running their businesses, they are giving back and serve as role models to their communities, which is why we must celebrate and support them today and every day so that they don't only just survive, but they thrive. And with that, I'm excited to dive in and kick off our event. Now, I'd like to welcome Shamina Singh. Here we go.
Hello, Arian. It's great to be here and great to see you. You look fabulous.
Great to see you too. Thank you. You as well.
Now, you know, Arian, before we jump into the day of the program, we're going to take a minute and turn the tables on you for a second. So you're our fabulous MC for the day, but I would be remiss if I didn't get a chance to ask you a couple of questions about the Fearless Fund. Would that be okay?
That is more than fine.
Welcome. Okay, perfect. And before I do that, I just want to remind you and also the audience, you know, that this whole area is not new investments for Mastercard. You know, our commitment to financial inclusion and equitable and access to inclusive growth really has started years ago. You know, we originally started with the commitment to bring 500 million people into the formal financial economy. And then we expanded that commitment actually during COVID to focus to bring 500 million more, along with 50 million new small businesses, with a focus on 25 million new women entrepreneurs. As you also know, as part of our In Solidarity initiative, we've committed $500 million to support Black communities across the U.S. to ensure that individuals as well as businesses have access to affordable tools and capital. You know, right here in Los Angeles, more specifically, we've strengthened our partnerships with the city government, with private sector partners, and with nonprofit partners to support households, the city itself, and businesses throughout this past year, and actually have partnered with a local organization called the Axion Opportunity Fund to help unlock capital for Black-owned businesses, and enabled access to our Digital Doors program to help small business owners get online. But Arian, Fearless Fund is something that I've been watching and admiring for quite some time. You, as its fearless founder, can you share the inspiration, why you started this, and what was your driving force?
Yes, the reason why I started the Fearless Fund is because currently, right now, African American women receive 0.00006% of venture funds. And to me, that is disturbing. We wanted to play a role in solving these racial disparities. This journey for me is also very personal. I was raising capital for my mall-based retail store while I was a college student at Florida A&M University, and I remembered what that experience was like, and there was nobody for me to pitch across from who looked like me. So I wanted to change the landscape. I understood it wasn't just a lack of diverse investments, it's a lack of diverse investors. And that is what has led us to begin the Fearless Fund.
That's great to hear. We've put we've leveraged the assets of Mastercard, not only behind your Fearless Fund, but against so many of the initiatives we're pursuing. We've included our technology, our people, our philanthropic capital, and everything else that we have at our fingertips in order to ensure success. More specifically and more recently, we came together to invest about $500,000 in the Fearless Fund between the Mastercard Impact Fund and the corporate funds. What have you seen in terms of impact from those commitments, but all the other commitments that you've gathered over the year? What does it feel like for those Black women-owned businesses?
Oh my gosh, Black women-owned businesses experience this impact on so many levels. When they have access to capital, they are able to create jobs. They are able to circulate more money in their underserved communities. It has a very much so, I would say, a long-lasting impact. It's truly a domino effect.
And what do you think it means to have additional Fortune 500 companies involved in the Fearless Fund?
Oh my gosh, to have additional Fortune 500 companies involved in the Fearless Fund, it means so much because it's not just the capital, it's the resources. It's the C-suite level expertise and mentorship that is provided. Because in minority communities, there's a lack of access to capital, there's a lack of access to the education, and there's also a lack of access to the network. And we partner with Fortune 500 companies, we get all three of those things.
You know, the intention of the Mastercard Strivers Initiative is to elevate the visibility of Black women-owned businesses who really serve as role models to not only your community, but to all of us and for future generations. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on why do you think it's important for there to be visible role models, not just in small business, but in all areas?
There needs to be visible role models because if you can see it, you can dream it. If you are exposed to it, you can even just desire it. Exposure is everything. It changes the lens and landscape of how you operate your day, how you pursue your dreams, and how you set your goals.
I can't agree with you more, Arian. You know, I often think we need people in our lives who can dream a bigger dream for us than ourselves. Arian, do you have any priceless advice to share for women seeking startup capital or funds to grow their own business?
Yes, I do. I most definitely do. I would definitely tell them to, one, get involved with communities of other entrepreneurs. There are great programs out there, great networks. I would also like to share with them if they are considering raising and speaking to investors to acquire more funds for their business, to make sure that they've honed in on their pitch deck, an amazing brand story, and that they're able to prove their traction in the marketplace.
Well, Arian, I can't think of a better person to be leading our Striver initiative today, tomorrow, and every day. You know, it's been a personal privilege for me to get to know you and your company. But for me to also be a part of a company like Mastercard that has been so vocal in not only their support of these types of initiatives, but also with their capital, their technology, and their expertise. So we're all in for you and with you. And you are such an inspiration. And I cannot wait to tune into more of the day to see what you're going to say and what other pearls of wisdom you're going to escalate over the course of our conversations today. And with that, I'm handing it back to you, my friend, to kick off the roundtable conversation.
The road to recovery for small businesses post-COVID is long. And data from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce shows that women-owned small businesses have an even longer road ahead of them. According to the report, women-owned small businesses have less optimistic revenue, investment, and hiring plans when compared to male-owned small businesses. And unfortunately, the road is even longer for Black women-owned small businesses, which have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, experiencing higher rates of forced closures, defaults, and fallout from the economic downturn. And these stats are especially striking when you look at the state of Black women-owned businesses pre-pandemic. Before COVID hit, Black women were among the fastest growing entrepreneurs, with Black women representing 42% of new women-owned businesses, 3 times the share of the female population, despite only receiving 0.06% of venture capital funding. Today, I'm joined by an incredible group of panelists for a thoughtful discussion on how we can create an equitable financial system and ensure our small businesses, especially our Black women-owned businesses, have the access to funding and resources needed to survive and thrive. Please welcome our lovely panelists. Blair, we're going to start with you. Introduce yourself and let us know what you do.
Hi, my name is Blair Pasinger. I co-own Post 21 along with my mom, and we are a marketplace that is celebrating Black-owned businesses.
Excellent. Luz?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Luz Rutian, the CEO of Acción Opportunity Fund, and we are the leading nonprofit micro-lender, small business lender in the country, serving nearly 90% of our customers are people of color, immigrants, and women.
Luz, that's amazing. Renee?
Good morning. My name is Renee Young, and I own Aslan Consulting. We are an IT consulting firm. We do software implementations, project management, and program management for clients all throughout the country.
Excellent. Shalonda?
Hi, I'm Shalonda Cornicher. I'm the co-founder of a creative agency and production company based here in LA called Passerine. And we're focused on telling culturally relevant stories for brands, and we're also a family-owned and operated business. So shout out to Blair.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, ladies, for being here with us today. There's so much I want to talk about, so let's just get right into it. First, I want to talk about the state of women of color-owned small businesses right now. Blair, we're going to start with you. As an e-commerce-based small business, you've been contending with supply chain disruptions throughout the pandemic. What has been your business's biggest challenge during this period, and what have you learned from it? What advice can you share with fellow business owners who are also navigating COVID-induced operational challenges?
Supply chain has definitely been the biggest thing. I think it was an adjustment for me because I'm not we have vendors, right? So they're the ones directly experiencing the supply chain problems. So then me being the middleman, we had to figure out how are we going to communicate that to the customer without them thinking it's all our fault. And I think we had to just really realize that, you know what, everyone is dealing with this. The customers understand that. And what can I do? I decided I'm going to give myself grace in this time because that's all we can do, and we're going to just keep moving forward. And I think that's really all we can do at this point. There's no other, you have to get creative and figure out, okay, if this vendor can't get me the wax, then I'm going to get it, can I get it somewhere else? Can I do something else? Can I make something else? And, be creative, because we're already creatives. That's why we're in this space anyways, and do the best you can. And I think our customers have all understood that. Even if someone's, writing an email to complain, it's not like, don't take it personal. They're just inquiring because it might be a gift or whatever. And, you give them the information and go from there, and it's all really going to be all right.
I love that. It's so important we give ourselves grace as entrepreneurs. Luz, Black women are among the fastest growing entrepreneurs before COVID hit. Black women represent 42% of new women-owned businesses, 3 times the share, like I mentioned before, of the female population, yet only receive 0.06% of venture capital funding. How can we turn this statistic around and ensure the small business community is actually representative of society as a whole?
Yes. So, Sharon, there's no question that BIPOC business owners, particularly Black women business owners, are at a significant disadvantage when it comes to financing. And it's very unfortunate that this segment that brings so much opportunity and livelihood to our communities faces so many obstacles getting access to the financial resources and the tools that they need to thrive, either because they are less likely to have a strong business relationship with a bank or because of the color of their skin. And that's something that really needs to be called out. And when they get capital, it's generally less than what they need, and they are charged much higher rates. So our systems are failing them. And because traditional lenders don't lend to people of color at the same rate as their white counterparts, many small businesses are faced with having to go to alternative lenders, some of which are very responsible and some are very bad actors. You mentioned the 0.0006% of venture capital going to Black-owned women business owners. The world of venture capital and lending, banking, is insular and predominantly white and male. Because it's human nature really to gravitate to what is familiar. That means that when it comes to investing, businesses that are geared for women or minorities are not often valued. And currently, the organizations that are really helping people of color and small business owners that are owned by Black women, whether it's with responsible capital business advising or other tools, they're community development financial institutions and other responsible fintechs. And I would encourage the businesses that are listening in to seek those organizations. CFIs and responsible fintech lenders are focused on creating a more inclusive small business community because we know that our local, regional, and national economies will benefit along the way. We need to work together. This is a big problem that we all need to solve. And it can't be one institution or one member of the ecosystem. It's got to be the collaboration of partnerships with corporations, banks, community partners, philanthropists, governments, all coming together to help solve this huge problem that is lack to access in capital. And I want to make it clear, we're talking about a hand up. It's not a handout.
Oh my gosh, that was excellently said. Renee, passing on to you. The road to recovery for small businesses post-COVID is long, and data from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce shows that women-owned small businesses have an even longer road ahead of them. Where can we support small business owners to turn to for their support for financial reasons, otherwise during this time?
Well, I will tell you that, like most business owners, it was a shock about a year ago today to go into the pandemic where I had a business where I was out seeing my clients. My business was based downtown Los Angeles, or I was on a plane somewhere to actually being bound in my home and trying to run my business, running my staff from my home. And so it was really important to get connected and stay connected. And so I think that that's going to be key going forward for Black women business owners, all business owners. I think one of the keys for myself, and I sit here not just as a business owner of Aslan Consulting, but also a board member of NABO LA, which is the National Association of Women Business Owners. It's the only dues-paying organization that looks out for women entrepreneurs nationwide. Now, it's not an answer for everybody, but I've found that it's really worked for me in making sure that I stay connected. I think we do a great job of partnering with other chambers, other organizations that are really focused on supporting the local, African-American businesses, the chambers, the county, the city. So I would say stay connected with organizations like NABO, who can give you some advice in the area of education and in finance and creating those relationships to carry your business forward. So that would be my advice, is to stay connected with organizations that have long tentacles that will take us beyond 2021 and beyond.
Yes, thank you. Community is so important. Shalonda, your creative agency has worked with major brands like Netflix, Nike, and Michael Jordan's Jordan brand, just to name drop a few. How have your collaborations helped these brands, you're more than welcome, to be more inclusive and diverse? And what changes would you like to see within the marketing industry to further push our culture forward?
I think, we've been very fortunate to work with partners where we haven't really had to push up against a resistance to being inclusive. But I will say that we help our partners to be inclusive by showing up as our full selves and pitching culturally relevant campaigns and content that are, effective in the marketplace, but also represent the actual world that we live in. We live in an incredibly diverse world, and we see it as a part of our job as an agency to kind of be reflective of real life and to reflect the nuance of audiences. And so we're helping our partners by being really clear about who we are and being super intentional about all the decisions that we're making in the creative process. From, who's ideating, who's creating, who's writing, what do the crews look like, who's in the room, what's the cultural competency of the larger team. These are the things that we're thinking about as a business, and that is passed on, that value is passed on to our clients when they're working with us. And so I think to the earlier part of the question about what needs to change in the industry, I think a commitment to representation at every single level of the process. There can be a tendency to kind of focus on what leadership looks like, and I think that's great, but I think it's important that when you look at every part of a business, that there's representation there, and that the folks who are working on the creative kind of look like what the world really looks like.
I love that about the marketing representation having to look like what the world looks like. And I see that Sharon has joined us. So Sharon, if you can just state your full name. Hey, girl. And your title. Yes.
No, my name is Sharon Chuter, and I'm the founder and CEO of Oma Beauty and Pull Up for Change.
Excellent. So great to see you. Well, Sharon, this next question is for you. And then I'm going to move to a question for the entire panel. The Black Lives Matters movement has resulted in a huge surge of sales for Black-owned businesses, which, as we all know, is long overdue. But rapid growth comes with challenges, from navigating an increased customer service requests to stocking inventory on the back end, et cetera. How have you handled this spike in sales, and how can other small businesses better prepare for scaling quickly and sustainably?
Yeah, I think, probably my business is not a great one to use as an example because we were already a very structured business, a well-funded business. So, a spike here and there doesn't really bother us. We can handle that, right? But I think in terms of the advice to small businesses, I don't know about other businesses. I know a lot of Black businesses sort of saw a huge spike during the peak of the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's actually come down. And then now it's more of the demand from retailers and other people trying to get them in their fold as everybody's trying to be more inclusive. So I think, for a lot of businesses, I think Two things. If you're a direct-to-consumer business, I think it's really important that you focus on consistency, right? With this comes opportunity. If you're direct-to-consumer, one of the best things about it is you get your cash up front, right? It's different than dealing with retailers where you get your cash in 60 days time. So you really think about that cash and make sure you're reinvesting that cash back in, right? One of the things that we must make sure we do when you're running a business, don't keep your eyes on profits yet, in the early stage. Keep reinvesting that money back to really scale, especially now with that appetite, with the opportunities that are going to be coming in front of you. Start to challenge your ecosystem, start to challenge the teams that you've got, start to challenge the resources that you've got and how you're reinvesting that money back to create a platform that can be sustainable for where you want to go in future, because this is the best opportunity that most Black businesses are going to get, right? And it's about putting your best foot forward. It's about remembering why you exist beyond being Black owned. That is one of the big things I want to scream to people. I can't scream loud enough. You are a business before you're a Black founder, right? Whatever your proposition was that you came to the market, you have to remember that, and you have to amplify that to make sure a lot of the eyeballs you're getting now, they stay, and it's not fleeting. It's not a charity purchase that's going to disappear off. So I really advise all the, young founders who are especially D2C, where you get your cash immediately, really think about that and really think about reinvesting that cash back into the business to create a business that is sustainable for future growth. And for businesses that are not D2C, that are looking to go or are currently D2C, are looking to go into retail. I know right now every retailer on the planet is calling every brand, in a frenzy. Be very intentional about what you're taking. Really think about, what is this retailer bringing to the table? I know it's very exciting to jump into a retailer, but if you go into the wrong retailer at the wrong time, you will go out of business, right? And the key is to be in business. That's the whole point of this, right? So you have to make sure it's it's not performative, that they are supporting you, they're marketing you. I've seen so many retailers launching brands, they don't even talk about it. I only find out from the Black-owned brands that they're with the retailer. That's not good enough. What is this retailer actually giving to you? And coming to those conversations from a position of power, that they actually need you right now, right? And really be mindful of how are they going to support you beyond just listing your brand on their website or whatever. And then also having the honest conversation with yourself, which is, am I ready for this opportunity today? Because for everybody out there who's talking to a retailer for the first time, let me give you the tea about retailers. If you go into a retailer and you don't perform and you get deleted, it's the worst thing that can ever happen to you. You're gone, you're blacklisted, not just from that retailer, but from a lot of retailers. So sometimes not now is actually a good answer to go, no, I'm going to wait until I'm ready and I can do a really good job at it, because the worst thing we want to happen is retailers taking all these Black-owned brands, and within 6 months, like what happened in the 90s, because everybody forgets we've been here before. There was this surge in the 90s for inclusivity and whatever, and the retailers ended up deleting all the brands, and we went back to square one. So I would say my advice to a lot of Black-owned founders is look at your ecosystem, look at your infrastructure, focus back on why you're a business beyond being Black-owned. If retailers are coming to you, make sure you are asking for the right things. Make sure you're focusing on the support, as opposed to just getting overly excited that, hey, Ulta are talking to me, they want to put me online. Because the truth is, if you don't perform, you're going to get deleted. So a lot of times it's better to wait it out until you're ready to be in there and you can do a good job before you actually go in there.
I love that. I love your points about cash flow management, which is one of the biggest pain points of all small businesses, down to making sure that you actually have a strategic partnership if you're going to go into retail. I think that's amazing. This next question is for any and all of the panelists. In the midst of the pandemic, more than 100,000 small businesses have closed forever. But applications for new U.S. businesses are rising at the fastest rate since 2007, with 3.2 million so far. How can we support these new entrepreneurs and help ensure that these new businesses don't end up as COVID cautionary tales? Anybody can take it.
And I don't want to jump the gun, but this one is what I mean. It's the reason why I've set up the Pull Up for Change Impact Fund, right? So here's a tip: people don't actually know specifically about Black-owned businesses, right? There's 2 million, as of last year, there was 2 million Black-owned businesses, right? Almost half of them are in risk of being obliterated due to COVID. But even before then, even as of 2019, only 125,000 of them had any employees. Right? So the fact that we're registering businesses does not necessarily mean that our businesses are being successful or they're being supported or they're being funded. So there are a few things that need to happen and happen fast. One, investment in Black-owned businesses really needs to happen because that's at pandemic levels. Only less than 1% of investment dollars go to Black-owned businesses. You don't even want to talk about female Black-owned businesses because that number is like 0.006. So let's not even go there, right? So there's a huge problem, which is funding the Black-owned businesses. When you scale that funding challenge, there's a big problem, which is support for Black-owned businesses, because a lot of Black-owned businesses, the assumption in the market is there for Black people, right? So it's almost like when you're Black-owned, you don't have the credibility or the license to have a business that caters to everybody. It's almost like it's a responsibility of the Black community to support Black businesses. And so for me, I would say the things that really need to happen and fast is and this is why I talk about economic allyship. I talk about this a lot. It sounds boring, but that's the most important kind of allies that we need, economic allyship, which means we need to get funding for Black-owned businesses and fast, because any businesses surviving a pandemic, cash is king, right? Let's forget about that. This is not a revenue game when you're in a pandemic, right? It's about cash. You could have the best business, you could have the best product, but the day you are, and small business owners don't focus enough on cash. The day you run out of cash, you're out of business. I don't care about that you've got a $2 million purchase order coming in. If you do not have cash, we've seen businesses like, Mastercard. They were doing $120 million and had to sell for $20 million in that same year, right? The second you run out of cash, you're out of business. And so what we need to do and fast is get money deployed to Black-owned businesses so they can weather this storm and they can survive through this period as they try and figure it out. The next thing we need to do is rally support. And this is global, national support for Black-owned businesses. We need to make people understand that because you're Black-owned does not mean that you're ethnic and you can only serve Black consumers, right? It's not just the responsibility of the Black community to support Black businesses. And so we need to do a really good job at this. And then even within our communities, we need to support Black businesses even more, right? I grew up in Australia, and one of the things that is mind-blowing about Australia, Australians would rather pay 10 times for a product because it's Australian made. They don't even ask about the quality. They don't ask about anything. As long as it has the leaping kangaroo symbol on it, which means it's Australian made, Australians will pay a premium to the point that foreign brands have to pretend like they were Australian owned to get the Australian consumer, right? When we support our own, when we reject this idea, of aspiration from the outside, it makes our businesses even stronger. So I think from my perspective, two things that need to happen is we need to support and finance these businesses just so that they can operate, period. There's so many grant programs out there and there's so many incubators. And I say, Black founders are over-mentored and underinvested. When they're done with these incubators, who's giving them money? The only grants available is like $5,000 to $10,000. How does that really help you set up a business? So we really need to deploy tangible funding. The average white male gets $2.1 million to set up their business. The average Black business gets $45,000, right? We need to close that gap. We need to put a lot of focus on doing that because that's going to help us survive because we have enough cash flow to do our business and do it properly and survive through the ups and downs of pandemics. And then we need universal support for Black-owned businesses to understand that they're beyond just Black-owned, they have a proposition. And then as a community, we need to even double down even more and support our own and our own businesses. And none of these things I'm seeing celebrities posting, I shouldn't support a Black business just because it's Black. I want customer service. I want quality of product. I want better pricing. Look, we're never going to compete with an Amazon, right? Because the amount of money Jeff Bezos has to be able to give you delivery in 2 hours, the Black businesses are not getting that. So as a community, we need to support our own without reservation. It's like, it's Black-owned, I'm going to buy that shit, right? And if we get there and then everybody else joins us and then our businesses get funding, we'll be okay.
That is so true. And on that note, let's look ahead to the future and talk about how we are going to tackle some of the challenges facing Black women-owned businesses so they can thrive in 2021 and beyond. Luz, I'm pointing to you right now. Unless a small business owner had a 6-month emergency fund going into COVID, it's likely they'll need some capital to get their business back and have it going again. What are some of the financing options for small business owners, particularly women and BIPOC small business owners who have less access to capital as they start thinking about rebuilding?
Sure. So, there are different types of products and providers that are available for businesses to access capital. We know, unfortunately, that banks are not really lending in this space as much as they should. Although they would be, an ideal solution. But there are alternative lenders. So we talked about community development financial institutions, community banks, online lenders, merchant cash advances, fintechs, and there are pluses and minuses to each. And so whether one goes to any of these lenders, the most important thing any business owner can do, but especially women of color, since it's so much more difficult for them to get access to capital, is make sure that the product solution fits their need, that the loan is properly right-sized for the business, that it's an affordable loan, that the business can pay through the cash flow, making sure that you're not overpaying, that there are no hidden fees, no prepayment penalties, and that you're fully understanding the terms of the loans, right? What is the interest? What are the fees? What is the annual percentage rate, the APR? You know, I cannot reemphasize this enough. It is imperative, particularly now, that business owners find a responsible lender that is focused on having the business owner's best interests at heart. In times like these, many unscrupulous lenders are going to be taking to the streets to prey on businesses that are really desperate and fearful about losing their business because they're trying to get capital. And so community development financial institutions, whether it's a term loan, a line of credit, you know, a sort of merchant cash advance that is responsible based on the receivables of the business, I would encourage you to visit the Small Business Borrower Bill of Rights to learn about the lenders that are offering transparent pricing and terms and that are abiding by these responsible practices. I think, you know, Sharon was talking about it. There are also many grants and loan programs out there, and it can get very confusing for small business owners. They have launched regionally, locally, nationally. You know, for example, in California, there's the California Rebuilding Fund. Accion Opportunity Fund is one of the lenders, CDFI lenders, given loans, you know, at 4.25%, up to $100,000. The state has also launched a grant program. But really, the most important thing when accessing financing is to make sure that you're working with someone whose business model is successful if you as a business owner are successful, and that they are open, transparent, and disclosing all the terms of the loan.
Thank you very much. Blair, your work is centered around lifting up and celebrating other Black-owned small businesses. How can we all do our part to amplify and support underrepresented entrepreneurs and small business owners? If people aren't able to support by making a purchase, what other ways can they offer their support to help these businesses grow and thrive?
Well, one, I think it's time to kind of switch the mindset away from supporting, right? Because that's something that's like a diet, like you're going to support or you're going to try it and then it's going to be done. I'd rather switch your mindset to be like, this is a way of life. This is how I shop. I'm intentional about where my dollars are going. If I can't buy something right now, I'm going to bookmark it and save it for when I need to get a gift for whoever. So I think just the main thing is really to be intentional about what you're using, what you're doing, where your dollars are going. It's like treat others the way you want to be treated, right? You help businesses the way you would want help if you were running a business or, and helping with whatever you're doing. You can't, social media is huge. If it's, you see something you like, send it to someone else. If you, are talking to someone, talk to them about this, I've seen this great shop, X, Y, and Z. You told me you need whatever, here you go, right? So it's not just like, I want to support right now. That's not going to get us very far.
Understood greatly. Sharon, you touched on a little bit of this earlier, but I wanted to dive into it one more time just so that the audience can definitely hear your answers on this subject. Although there has been some progress in women and minority-owned small businesses, they're still underrepresented on the shelves of major retailers. As an entrepreneur with one of the most successful brands at Ulta, how can other female founders follow your footsteps? And what advice can you give them on getting into retailers, big names such as Ulta, like you've done?
Yes, I think we have a long way to go when it comes to getting Black, female entrepreneurs out there. It's a long way to go. And I think, one of the things I would advise anybody to do is really focus on your product market fit, right? you really need to focus on your product market fit. Like that's why I keep hammering on being something beyond just Black owned. What is your brand doing out there? Why is it so different? Understanding the competitive landscape that right now in beauty, there's like thousands of brands, and almost flip yourself into the retailer's shoes. What is your product going to bring into their store, right? And this is something a lot of founders don't think about, especially when you think about retail. It's different to doing D2C. D2C, you can get your customers and they buy because they love you or whatever, right? When you want to go into retail, you have to think in the context of that retail store, right? What is your brand bringing in there? Retailers are not going to bring in brands that are going to come and cannibalize other brands that they've got. They want brands that are going to bring in incrementality. You have to be bringing something to the table that is truly a white space, that is truly offering something, that is truly making a difference, right? And then once you have that, once you really have a product that is differentiated and you've worked on it, right? I always talk about being ready for retail. Especially now that retailers are just going about talking to everybody, you gotta be ready for retail. Retail is a whole other beast. This is not D2C where you can get a product in this week and put it online and sell it. They have long lead times, long calendars. You're presenting 6 months before your product hits the shelf. Even getting a gondola ready to be put in an Ulta scenario, it takes 7 months to actually build that thing, right? And so I think what's amazing and the work I've been doing with retailers and we're doing behind the scene is to try and work on the ecosystem to be more nimble so that it can accommodate a lot of these brands that are not quite familiar with the retail ecosystem. They don't understand the jargon. I had the luxury of playing with other people's money for 14 years before doing mine, right? With the biggest brands in the world. So I could walk into a retailer and straight away they could give me that opportunity because, and sometimes it's not just a race thing, it's just purely that they know you can handle it. You understand my ecosystem, right? And I see it even today, like the deals I can close. So the deals, even other businesses that are Black owned who've been there longer than me can close it different. Because what these retailers are looking at is, do you understand our ecosystem? How easy is it going to be to onboard you into our ecosystem? Do you know what's coming next, right? And this is something we have to work on. This is something people like me have to do a better job for sharing with our community, right? Because we have all this experience, we have all of this knowledge. But what I would say to every entrepreneur out there today is, don't be so focused on, I just want to be in Ulta, right? That is an outcome. That is something that's going to happen if your business is doing well. Focus on your business right now. Focus on that model. Focus on creating products that are amazing, that are game-changing, that are groundbreaking. Focus on fine-tuning that. Focusing on getting your customers and really mastering it. Because if you can do that, right, that is step one, and that's a really important step. And then as you start looking into retail, focus on your back end. Focus on your supply chain. Because it's not the sexy stuff that makes you successful in retail, right? That's all well and good, the marketing and all of that. But Ulta will not keep a brand who can't stay in stock. That's the truth, right? They want you to be in stock. They want you to be always, able to keep up with the demand. They want you to understand their timelines. They want you to be nimble. You know what I'm saying? So I think my biggest advice to brands is, firstly, today, for all the Black female founders who are there aspiring to Ulta, that's great. Keep that goal up there, but focus on your business right now and focus on getting your product to a place where you can hand on heart say, I can go into Ulta and compete with NAS and beat NAS. Not I'm going to go in as a Black-owned brand, because that's the mentality that we need to have. In there, I'm going in there. There's Mac in there. Remember, this is a retailer with Mac. Why is your product better than Mac? And why should people buy you instead of Mac? And if you can answer that question and you can demonstrate that, then convincing the retailer is easier. And if you have a back end that you've already started working on to be able to be able to handle even the money sometimes can be a curse, right? If Ulta came in and dropped in a $5 million purchase order, what are you going to do with that and how are you going to fulfill that? Do you have the teams to do the education, right? Even the retail operations required to keep a shelf, visual merchandising. There is so many of these things people don't think about that is really required in retail. So I think a lot of that back end work has to happen. But the truth is there are a lot of brands who are ready today. And that's why I'm so happy to see brands like Vanessa Merrick's going into Sephora, Beauty Stats, getting all the opportunities they have because they are already ready. They've been there, they've done that, and now they get the opportunity. And for everybody else, just keep working on your model, fine-tuning that model. Like I said before, the worst thing you want to do is enter a retailer too early, because if that door closes, because you enter too early, you cannot open it in future. So sometimes it's better to wait another year until you're ready and go in properly and kill it.
That is such great wisdom. The next question is for any of the panelists. Of course, small business owners need more than just financial support to thrive. In fact, recent research has shown that early mentorship can have a major impact on a small business's revenue and growth. How have your mentorship experiences, your networking opportunities contributed to your success? And what advice can you share for small business owners who are seeking a mentor? It's anybody.
I can take that one. We'll start with it. I just, for me, because I was in the corporate world before I started my own business about 10 years ago, I had mentors that I had worked with over the years, and even some former clients end up being my mentors. But mentors don't often happen organically, or especially for us. So we have to work at it. So I would say for building mentors is don't be afraid to look outside of your comfort zone or your network that you've already been working in for your mentors. It might be, you actively put yourself in an organization where you find new mentors. It might be going back to some of your own old clients or coworkers, former coworkers for your mentors. It could be some people like that we have on a panel today that are doing things in Ulta that you want to be doing that are your mentors. But we really need to work at reaching out to others to create those mentors for ourselves, because they don't always happen organically. So that's key to mentorship. And don't be afraid, I think, to look for mentors that don't necessarily, we should be able to find mentors that look like us, but that's not always the case. And there are some people that will mentor you that don't look like you. And I found that that's been an eye-opener for myself over the years, and has actually helped me building my business.
And I'll also add to that and say, there are different forms of mentorship, right? When people think about mentors, they always imagine this one-on-one, right? I have to have Sharon as my mentor. But you have to remember, Sharon has 1,000 people talking to her, right? So if you're just waiting for that opportunity where every Friday Sharon's going to spend an hour with you and look through your numbers and look through your P&L. So we have to be more nimble, especially with the technology, the tools we have, the access we have today. I go in the age of information, ignorance is a choice, right? I've never had a one-on-one mentor where I'm asking them every question and they're answering those questions, right? I got mentors by reading books. Right? From when I was 12 years old, I would read books about Ray Kroc. I would read books about Henry Ford. And I learned in 2 days what it took that person a whole lifetime to learn, right? So there is a lot of access to information now. There's a lot of access to things. People are giving interviews day in, day out, podcasts. What are you listening to, right? Are you listening to just random stuff to make you laugh all day? Or are you listening to things that are going to inspire you? So there are so many ways now to do it. Even if you don't have access to a one-on-one mentor who's looking at your direct P&L, there is so much information out there that could be really relevant to you. And it's about sometimes finding those sources, finding those people and listening to them when they're going around speaking, because that's a good thing in terms of a lot of people who are doing it are out there. We're speaking, we're talking in places, right? Plug into those, right? And figure out, okay, who am I listening to? Because that's what I do, right? I'm not going to get Elon Musk as my mentor, am I? I'm not going to ring him up and go, hey, Elon, I really love the way you do in SpaceX. You want to be my mentor? That ain't going to happen, right? But I can listen to Elon Musk's mind. By listening to him speak, I can see his books. I can, you know what I'm saying? So I think we all have to be nimble and redefine, mentorship in a modern day era where everybody's moving 10 million miles an hour and not really waiting for things to come to us. And then on the second point of networks, that one is non-negotiable, right? We are who we know. And so I think we have to approach every relationship like it's a long-term relationship. You never know. One of the things that I always say to people, everybody wants to wait and they consider networks when they're meeting people who are leveling them up, right? A lot of people who've helped me the most in my life are people who I've known for ages, people who you know trivially, right? And then tomorrow they're doing something else and they ring you up and go, hey, Sharon, what's up? You want to come do this? Those are the best opportunities that come. So don't take any interaction for granted. Every single interaction could be a life-changing interaction. And I feel like because we label them like networking and mentorship, everybody's always looking for these big things that are going to happen. I'm going to go in there and the CEO of that company is going to talk to me. Like, girl, 1,000 people lining there trying to talk to that person, right? So it is about the best access I've had is from the executive assistant. It's been from the security guard. It's been from people that nobody else talks to, that I've spoken to and been a human being to. And tomorrow they're in the ear of that person. They're like, hey, I want to do this. You know who you should talk to? Sharon. And they pick up the phone and the call. So I will advise everybody, take every interaction seriously. Every room that you walk into, leave it with a good impression. Every time you walk to people, and I'm going to say this specifically to Black women in particular, we have to people, sometimes I've had this a lot of times and seen this in professional settings and places where sometimes we can walk in and think the world is against us. And I know a lot of times the world is, but we should never show that, right? When you go into a room, don't feel like, oh, the person's trying to be this to me because they think they are. To be honest, they are, right? I bought coffee for people. I had to do photocopying for people to get to where I am today, right? We have to be humble. In this generation, everybody wants to be on the throne, but don't want to go through all the stuff that it gets to, right? Nothing is defined. Nothing is certain. The only thing we can control is how we treat people every day, how we control our own destiny. And I'm a big advocate for that. You have to control your own destiny. How we make do with what we have and the humility to which we walk around with. And I think if we can get that right, it helps us network better, because networking is every day. The people you're meeting randomly on the street, how are you dealing with that? You don't know who they are, right? And it's how you treat them. Sometimes when I had my altar deal, it didn't come from a strategic relationship. I was sitting in an event. I didn't know who they were. I was just chatting and being nice and being myself. Turns out to be Dave Kimball, who's just taken over the seat now as Alta CEO, right? I didn't know he was Alta CEO. I could have treated him like any other person and been an asshole to him, right? And this would have never happened. So I think it's about every single day in your life, always showing up, being there, being present, being lovely to people. Even sometimes when you feel, especially when we interact with white people and you feel like, oh, they might be like, you don't always have to tell them off, right? You make your points, but you always leave that room in a way that, you're remembered in a positive life, because that's what gives you access in future. And you just never know where the next opportunity is going to come from.
Yes, I love that about always operating in just the spirit of excellence. Renee, Black and minority women-owned businesses have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, as we all know, experiencing higher rates of forced closures, defaults, and fallout from the economic downturn. How can we ensure Black and minority women-owned businesses bounce back from this pandemic and are poised to thrive in 2020 and beyond? What is your perspective on this?
My perspective is that we all make sure that we're ready for the next pandemic. This is a great time for us to make sure that we have our armor in place. So if, there's a lot to understand about finance, not just about loans, but investors and how to make sure you're moving forward financially. So if you're not an expert in that, get someone on your team that can be your finance support. Make sure that your business is mobile, or that your business is malleable, so it can change with whatever the next pandemic. Before, we're never going to go back to brick and mortar, for instance, like we have in the past. So is your business tied to a building, or are you ready for the next pandemic, which maybe you may be on the road, or your business may never go back into a specific building? So I would say be a joiner, make sure that you have your armor in place, make sure that there's some fundamentals that you have in place that will keep you just kind of growing and in the next place. And that's finance, make sure your technology is in place, make sure your network's in place, whatever that looks like. And it's going to be a little bit different for all of us, but this is not the time to sit still, but really to build our armor and be ready to grow and ready for whatever, as I say, pandemic is.
I love that. About being prepared for the next pandemic. The future of work is just so important. I love that. Shalonda, as we talked a little bit earlier in today's conversation, you've worked with a number of household brands, Nike, Netflix, etc. What advice can you share for small business owners who want to replicate your success and collaborate with major brands? And how can they ensure that their pricing, services are competitive and that they're not undervaluing themselves?
I think it goes back to a lot of what Sharon already said about how you operate in your relationships. I've found that having really authentic relationships, interactions, connections with everyone that you encounter is what really allowed our business to flourish. Last year, our business was named one of Adweek's fastest growing agencies, number 8 in the world. And that's because of our relationships. It's because of the friends and associates and friends of friends and just folks that we know speaking our name in rooms that we weren't in. And it's opened up a world of possibilities. And, how you treat people really, really matters. So if I'd want any entrepreneur to replicate anything, I would think I think it's being your best self and being and kind to people. And in terms of the pricing, I think it's really really important to understand your marketplace, to understand what your competitors are charging, what brands are spending. Trying, if you have other relationships in the industry, to open up the conversation to hopefully people can be a little bit more open about what they're making and what they're spending on content, so that we can just have a little more transparency there. And I think for women, it's really important to confidently enter rooms and not be shy to ask for exactly what you want. To understand, what you're really bringing to the relationship, the value that your company brings, and then being able to confidently stand in and demand what's rightfully yours in that space.
Yes, demand what is rightfully yours. Now, before we wrap up today's conversation, let's answer some questions from the audience. Question number 1. We're still in the midst of a pandemic, but I'm hopeful things are looking up. How do I set goals for my small business that are realistic, but also optimistic and hopeful for growth in 2021? Anybody can take it.
I mean, I think it's important to be gentle with ourselves. Like, yes, we are running a business, but, we don't really have a context outside of, a historical context for what this last year has been. And I think it's really important that we're taking care of ourselves so that we can be our best selves for our businesses, that we're taking care of one another, that we're taking care of our creative community, that we're holding each other up in any way that we can. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
No, that's definitely great. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, I think we spend a lot of time trying to be quote unquote realistic. I would almost flip it and say, be optimistic and hopeful and dream when you're setting your goals. And then the reality will come in. You will be level set with reality. But I think that we've got to give ourselves permission to dream and really put ourselves out there about what we want. And then our natural inclination is to kind of taper it anyway. But I'd say dream big, set big goals for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a lot of things right in that.
Yes, it is. And that kind of goes even into the next question. What advice do you have for small business owners like me who are having a tough time emotionally right now amid the pandemic and the continual fight for equality? What has worked for you?
Take a break. Give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace. Anything in addition to give yourself grace?
Look, I will
say
jump
that this
in
person
there.
is also struggling. Oh, go ahead, because they're struggling with the fact that sounds like not just the emotional state of the pandemic, but just even all of the highlights on the social injustice that's taking place. So they're saying, okay, they're stressed out with their business, and then now they also have to face the fact that they're still fighting for equality.
Yeah, I would say, look, owning a business, everybody thinks, a lot of people go set up a business because they go, I don't like my job, I want life to be easier, right? That's not how business works. Owning a business is the most difficult thing you can ever do. Mentally, physically, emotionally, it's a freaking roller coaster. Welcome to the club. That is really what it is. For every single person who's run a business, the successful people, every single person in between, it is a real tough job. It's a job where you need to find your own motivation. Nobody can answer this question for you. And that's the honest truth. It does not sound sexy. It does not sound great, but only you can answer that question. And if that question becomes too tasking to answer, I will honestly say get a job, because it's going to give you stability. It's going to level out your emotion. It's going to balance things out. But honestly, I know this sounds as like a savage response, but it's a truthful response. Like owning a business, the buck stops at you, right? And that pressure is a lot. And when you have a business, when you hire teams, everybody's feeding off you, right? Everybody who's upset comes to you. Nobody is there for you to feed off, right? And the personality and the ability to hold that together, you have to find your own sanity. You have to find your own support group, right? That only you can do that. You have to find a network that keeps you balanced. Like for me, it's my family or my sanity. My family is where I go to really cocoon and to cuddle up when the world gets a bit like we're going through a lot. Everybody's low-key depressed in this pandemic. That's the truth. We're social creatures. We've been disconnected from everybody. As a business owner, you are facing challenges that we've never faced before. That's the truth. We've never faced. The last time we had a thing like this was in the 18th century, right? Nobody was there to take records on how beauty businesses performed back then, right? So there is no benchmark for you to look into, and you're always looking inside. So I was saying in terms, and even like with all the racial, all the social justice issues that are going on out there, there's a lot going on in the world, and you have to find your own support network. You have to find your own mental health kind of like system, whether it is seeing somebody, talking to a shrink and whatever, but you have to, from that, find the motivation to keep going, because at the end of the day, as a business owner, we don't have the option to stop moving, right? We have to keep moving forward. It's just what we do. And we have to just find that strength. And I think what I'll advise this person is find that support system around you that feeds you enough. Come back to the purpose of why you do what you do, right? For me, that's what keeps me going. When the world is going crazy, when everything's going crazy, I do what I do not to get rich. I do what I do for a great purpose. And so when I think about that purpose, it jolts me out of bed, like quite literally. Like days I'm lying in bed, I'm like, oh, I can't feel like I can't do it today. That literally makes me like the Undertaker. I'm like, ooh, I'm back up, right? And I'm like, I gotta get out there. I don't feel like 100%, but I've got to get out there and I've got to do it. And sometimes even in doing that becomes your sanity. To be honest, in the last year, my business has been my escape. I know it sounds really odd, but my business has been my escape. My team has brought me a lot of joy. Being able to connect with them, being able to problem solve, being able to troubleshoot wherever it goes has really been my escape to not think about a lot of the craziness that's going on in the world. So I would say for an entrepreneur, that is the most important thing you have to do. Create an ecosystem to support your mental health, because once your mental health is in a good place, you can do anything. And there is no answer to say do this or do that is going to help this person with this question. You have to find that from yourself.
That is so true. I like to say sometimes you have to focus on your why. That is very important. But thank you to all of our incredible panelists for sharing your insight and knowledge and just taking time out with us today. I think I speak for everyone who is joining us virtually from home when I say your words of wisdom are very much so appreciated. We have so much great content coming your way today. Now I'm thrilled to pass the mic to Mastercard's EVP of North America Marketing and Communications, Cheryl Gurin, to announce the recipients of 2 Priceless Surprise Fearless Fund grants. Over to you, Cheryl.
Black-owned businesses are vital to inclusive growth, and yet they are the hardest hit by the impacts of the pandemic. An estimated 41% of Black-owned businesses across the U.S. shut down between February and April of last year, either temporarily or worse, permanently. We can't let this continue. Mastercard is committed to driving awareness and taking action to support the economic progress of Black women-owned businesses and their communities. Through our Strivers multi-city roadshow and together with the Fearless Fund, we are highlighting Black female business owners who are overcoming obstacles and providing them with the funding they deserve to maintain and grow their businesses. Today, I'm honored to announce Mastercard and the Fearless Fund are awarding 2 local LA business owners, Megan Smith of Megan Renee and Angela Stevens of Conscious Curls, each with a $10,000 grant to help them support their businesses. From Megan, who started a sustainable clothing line that embodies strength, confidence, and an unapologetic femininity, to Angela, whose line of high-quality hair extensions empowers and educates women on the beauty of hair while donating to various organizations. These women are not only running their businesses, they are giving back and supporting their communities. And this is just the beginning. I am excited to share that Mastercard and the Fearless Fund have opened up submissions for our Fearless Strivers Grant Contest, providing Black women small business owners across the U.S. with additional grants, as well as tools to help them build their digital presence. To enter your business for a chance to win a small business grant or to learn how you can make a donation, go to fearless.fund/strivers today. And with that, I'm thrilled to pass it over to CEO and founder of Create and Cultivate, Jacqueline Johnson, who is going to highlight a few other incredible local LA women-led businesses to shop, share, and support.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline and I am the CEO and founder of Create and Cultivate, and I'm so honored to be here joining forces with Mastercard's Strivers initiative to highlight women and minority-owned businesses across the country. LA's Black small businesses were hit extremely hard by the pandemic. They were almost twice as likely to have shut down in the last several months compared to the national average. Consider that only a year earlier, women of color were starting new businesses faster than anyone else. And one of the major ways we can support the Black community is with our spending power. So in this segment, we're shining a spotlight on women whose businesses you can shop, share, and support today and every single day. We'll speak with two incredible, inspiring, and entrepreneurial women whom you've heard from earlier on in the day to hear their career journeys and get an up-close look at some of their favorite products. The first brand we're going to introduce you today is an online marketplace featuring modern and design-forward products from Black-owned businesses called Post 21. The e-com site was created by a mother-daughter duo who both share a love for design and an eye for discovering new and niche products from both established and emerging Black-owned brands. They set out to create the place they wanted to shop from. And now consumers can enjoy that same feeling of discovery and finding their new favorite brand through Post 21's marketplace. And I am joined today by the amazing co-owner of Post 21, Blair Pasinger. Welcome back, Blair.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, so excited to have you, and thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to walk through some of these incredible products. I had the chance to kind of check them out myself, but so let's just start with one of my personal faves, because I know Trinity, and Trinity has spoken at past Create and Cultivate events, but let's start with this Gold Clean Greens mask. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, her products are amazing, and I think she's really passionate about organic and healthy products and things, and the thing I really like about her specifically is that she's kind of a part of this. What I'm trying to do is change the idea of Black products and what Black people are bringing to market, right? To me, it felt like it was a very singular idea originally, and so she's a part of that change of that we do have organic products and matcha and, things that you don't think of when you think of things that are coming from Black people.
Yeah, it's an incredible product. And do you carry any other products from her as well? I know she has her turmeric powder, which kind of put her on the map. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we carry the papaya mask. We had this sampler and that sold out like immediately during the holidays. So we need to get some more of her product actually. She's pretty popular.
All right, let's restock on that product. It's amazing. I love it. It's beautiful. The packaging is really cool. Awesome female founder. Let's move on. And I had never seen this before, and I was so excited to see it. Entrepreneur Finds Her Way, a children's book. I love this concept. Tell us a little bit about the author. This is such a great gift, it seems like, for a mom with young kids who are just starting in school. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's a beautiful book. What originally caught me was the beautiful illustration. I spoke with the owner. She's a teacher. She, was kind of feeling overwhelmed and decided to take some time off, and she wrote this book. It's beautiful. I love it. I have a daughter myself, and I think exposing her at a young age, she's 3, to being an entrepreneur, not only, seeing her mom doing it, but reading about it and seeing this beautiful story. It's a beautiful thing. I haven't really seen another book about being an entrepreneur for that age group, so I really love this book.
Same. I felt the exact same way. And start them young, let's get them inspired early on. Let's keep it in the family. I love it. So tell us a little bit about this beautiful Conquer Fear silk scarf. The designer behind the brand is Demetra Williams. Can you tell us a little bit about this brand?
Yes, Demetra is in New York. She's been working in fashion for years and years, and she wanted to just start making her own products. I think she's done a great job. We carry three or four right now of her scarves that are so beautiful and so inspiring. And I spoke with her about how she is coming up with these sayings and things for her products, and it's really just phrases that speak to her, and I felt that they were also speaking to me, so I really wanted to have them. That one is my favorite. I love the color. Is so beautiful in person. So yeah, I really love her products, and she's growing, and she's working full time at in the fashion industry and doing this on the side. And so that's, another reason why I've started this brand, to help brands like her grow without her having to do every single step.
Love it. We love a side hustle. That's amazing. And obviously you're giving such a great platform to these women to get their products out there. So this one I'm really excited about, the Oracle, Follow Your Heart Oracle deck. So obviously mindfulness is top of mind, for lack of a better word, right now. And the woman behind these beautiful cards, Tori Ririck, is a pharmacist who prescribes mindfulness, which I love that. So how did you discover her and these cards?
We found her on Instagram. I thought her cards were beautiful, and the main thing was they didn't, like, some cards you can kind of feel overwhelming. Like, if that's not really something I'm into, where do I start? And so hers felt like a very beginner, inspirational set of cards that can kind of walk you through just, small inspirations, daily things that you might need, and not feel like you had to, like, Google what the card was trying to tell you.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and they have these like really gorgeous like watercolor artwork. Exhale, forgiveness, be still. Like, what a great message. I love that so much. And so I just moved into a new home, which is so exciting, and I saw these dishes and was blown away. They're absolutely beautiful. Nzinga dishes. What is the designer, or who is the designer behind these beautiful plates? And do these designs have any specific meaning?
Yeah, so that brand is called Culture Kitchen. She actually has 3 different styles. This is just one of them. And it's a full set of, the salad plate, the mug, the saucer. Initially, they struck me as well. And I was like, oh, I love mud cloth. These are beautiful. I want these. And when I spoke with her, she explained that each style and each design in the mud cloth has a different story, and that it originally was a story that, like, the women were putting on the fabric to send with their man into battle, to tell him they love him, or, whatever the story was, take a piece of home with him. And I was like, oh my God, like, yes, I want to eat on this beautiful love story. It was amazing to me.
Yes. That's amazing. I never knew that. What a great little piece of information. Amazing products. I want to talk a little bit about you and your story. So first and foremost, tell us about how Post 21 started.
Yeah, so I was pregnant with my second child, and my mom's like, hey, girl, I'm going to take you to lunch. And I should have known, she was trying to feed me. It was something. And she great idea. She wanted to start this brand because how else do you keep up with these brands that you find and you see? You have to follow them all on Instagram, or otherwise you forget about them. So she wanted to build this platform, and I was like, this sounds amazing, but I'm pregnant. You got it. And then I went home and I couldn't sleep, and I realized it was my passion. And I had a daughter. My first child was a daughter. I knew I wanted her to see me build something, and what better than this platform that was going to help Black women, Black business. It was going to be a place that, me growing up, my mom was intentional about us going to a Black doctor and going to, supporting our community. But now the world is in a different space. So we shop online. So how are we doing that online? Previously, I didn't have a way to do that. And the platforms that were there to do that, I felt didn't speak to my aesthetic. So I knew this was something I had to do. And we started building.
I love it. I love it. So my mom and I are very close. We work together on a lot of different things. I'm so curious. Obviously, you and your mom are partners in business. Tell us about that dynamic, what it's like to work with your mom day in and day out. Any tips you have?
It is an experience. I think it's brought us together in a way that we weren't previously. It's also just helped us talk more, which has been great. Prior to this, it was, when we would talk, it'd be like, oh, can you babysit? Can you do this? Can you, I need help with this. But it's also like, so her background is in technology and programming, which obviously helped. My background is in design and art, and I'm a creative. So in that way, we balanced each other in an amazing way to build this business. It also, I went to art school, which I think a lot of parents would not really be into. And my mom paid for it. And then I graduated and I wasn't really doing anything with that degree that she paid for. So now she's watching me and we're building something together, and I'm using all of the, things that she put into my education. So I think that's really rewarding for me. As far as tips, that I don't know about that. I think for me, it's like if I can't handle the phone call, just don't answer, because otherwise,
Truly.
I'm
Better
at
to
it the
take
right
a few
way.
deep breaths.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, it sounds like you guys are the dream team with your skill sets, and it sounds like that art degree is paying off in spades. Post 21 is incredible. So tell everyone where they can shop the pieces seen here today and how they can stay in touch and follow along via social media.
Yeah, our website is post21shop.com. Our Instagram is at post21shop. And yeah, you can, shop in both places and follow along to our story.
Amazing. Blair, you are such an inspiration. That was incredible. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so we're on to our next female entrepreneur. Not only is this female founder the brains behind the highly covetable beauty brand Oma that is making inclusivity the norm, she also started a movement that took social media by storm. Her organization, Pull Up for Change, aims to advance the economic well-being of Black communities all over the world. Now, even in its infancy, Pull Up for Change is creating a seismic stir within the beauty industry, once again, with its latest initiative called Make It Black. Here to tell us more about this initiative is CEO and founder of Oma Beauty and Pull Up for Change, the one and only Sharon Shooter. Hi, Sharon.
Hi guys,
Welcome
how are
back.
you?
Welcome back to the chat. I'm
Thank
good. I'm good. I'm
you.
still reeling over your answer for the last question on the panel. It was so good. It's so true. I was snapping for you in the background. Yes. So I'm so excited to learn about this brand new campaign. I mean, when do you sleep? We don't know. Let's share it with everyone though today and dig in a little bit more. Tell us about the Make It Black initiative.
Yes, Make It Black is an initiative that was set up to celebrate the beauty of Black. Very often in language, Black has a negative connotation, and like the dictionary is really perpetuated. There's barely any positive synonym or related word for Black. And so what we wanted to do is really show people the beauty of Black. And in doing that, we wanted to partner with brands to convert their iconic products to Black, raise money for the Black community and Black founders, because we know that Black founders are over-mentored and underinvested in. And so this is really a vehicle to support Black-owned businesses and advance, because we know, for Pull Up for Change, we want to see the economic gap between the Black community and every other community close. And this is another way to which we're doing that, by funding Black businesses.
Amazing. And I'm seeing huge name brands. I mean, we have NYX, we have ColourPop, we have Morphe. Can you take us through the different brands that you partnered with and why?
Yes, we partnered with 9 brands in total, but obviously we had a lot of other partners behind the scene. Ulta was our exclusive retailer. From a front end, we partnered with Maybelline, we partnered with NYX Professional, we partnered with Morphe, we partnered with, ColourPop did a huge collection for this. They did like a 9-piece collection, which was absolutely beautiful. Briogeo, which is another Black-owned business, amazing, by Nancy Twine. We partnered with Purr. And of course, Oma Beauty was not going to sit this one out. So we pulled together this first cohort of brand, and I can't forget Flower Beauty and also Dragon Beauty that we partnered with as well. So it was really this coming together of amazing, amazing brands to stand up for the Black community and give back 100% of the net proceeds into the Pull Up for Change Small Business Impact Fund, which is set up to provide grants to Black founders.
I mean, incredible. So for those who might not be familiar with the Pull Up for Change initiative, can you give us a quick overview?
Yes, Pull Up for Change is an organization. We're here to advance the economic well-being of Black communities all over the world. We started as a viral Instagram hashtag, Pull Up or Shut Up, which was a challenge that I sent to all corporations around America, giving them 72 hours to release their employment numbers. People at the time weren't as focused on the fact that only 8% of employees in corporate are Black. When you go to management level, it gets to 3.2%, and at CEO level and above is abysmal at less than 1%. We need to close that. The average income of a white family is $171,000. The average income of a Black family is $17,000. Until we close the economic gap and economic barriers, we cannot take a step forward when it comes to becoming a post-racial society, which is what all of us are looking for. And so Pull Up for Change really focuses on that. We focus on advocating for transparency, so for companies to be very upfront about this, because we know that you cannot improve what you don't measure. So one of our things is for these companies to acknowledge where they're falling short, create tangible steps, and drive these tangible steps. And then on our own, we want to be beyond just people who are holding other people accountable. We also have to be part of the solution. And that's where we work with companies to help them with their hiring initiatives and HBCUs. And also what we do right now with the Make It Black campaign, which is helping Black entrepreneurs, because the shortest win and the quickest win we have is to support Black-owned businesses so they can hire more people, because we know that 77% of people will hire somebody of their own race and gender, right? So if we can supercharge Black-owned businesses and get them to a point where they can hire, that is really the quickest win that we can have over the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, incredible. And to think this all started with a hashtag. Do you think that consumers now, looking at what you've been able to accomplish just based on that, have more power to drive change than companies at this point?
Consumers have always had the power to drive change. They just don't realize that, right? I mean, you look at the beauty industry, what was veganism? Vegan products was not a thing. It was something that, if you were a really kissy niche brand, you did. And now everybody's vegan because consumers said so. Cruelty-free, consumers set that as a standard and everybody had to follow. So consumers always have had the power. And this is just an awakening to make them use that power. If you can fight for animals, you can fight for the Black community, right? Because the companies only respect one thing, and that's the dollar. And the consumers are the ones giving them the dollar. The only reason Jeff Bezos is the most powerful man in the world, or the richest man in the world, is because we made him that, right? If we all decided not, then that's the thing with cancel culture, right? And the part where cancel culture doesn't get the credit it deserves, because that's the positivity about cancel culture, right? It takes power back onto the consumers, and they go, hey, if you're not gonna live up to our expectation, if you're not gonna live up to our standard, we're going to withdraw our money from you, and you have to answer back to us. And that's a power that consumers have always had. And what we keep doing is really highlighting to them and going, you've used this power to enact enormous change, whether it's climate, whether it's around animal welfare. Now it's time for you to use this power for the Black community.
Yes, shopping with your dollars is so important. It's the same thing as voting with your dollars, getting out there and using your economic power for good. So language plays such an important role in the way we perceive the world. You touched on this a little bit earlier. I read that you also started a petition to ask the Oxford English Dictionary and Merriam-Webster Dictionary to change the definition of the word Black. Tell us a bit more about this initiative and how we can support.
Yes, I mean, most people don't realize that. I mean, now they've been running around cleansing the definitions, but you know, the connotations of Black is really bad, right? You go into the dictionary, or you can see synonyms and related words as, you know, nefarious, evil, ugly, right? And for me, language at best should be neutral, like at the least should be neutral, right? And we know connotations for Black. Black is the color of luxury. You know, Black is considered classic and timeless, a little Black dress. Black is formal, right? All of these words don't make it into the dictionary. So at least if you're going to keep those negative words in there, add the positive words in there. It makes no sense, and people are not challenging this enough to go, why is it you're not putting any positive connotation of Black? And for a lot of people, it doesn't matter, but to us, it does matter. When you're born and everything around you tells you you're all wrong, including the color to which your skin is associated with, you can't find anything good about it. For everybody who says it doesn't matter, it's because you've never been Black before, right? And if we say it matters, it means that it matters, right? And so what I want to see is dictionaries, even at a philosophical level, right? They're supposed to be the custodians of language. The Oxford Dictionary prides themselves, and they say, we are the last word on the last word. How can you be the last word when your definitions are incomplete? So you either can complete that definition, or we can all come together and go, hey, these definitions is having a huge negative impact on a whole community, and it's all in our best interest to redefine it. Pink used to be the color of masculinity, it's now the color of femininity. If we can do that for silly commercial reasons, why can't we do this for the Black community? And that's my challenge here.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, sign us up wherever we can petition and support. Definitely let us know. And to your point, I mean, this collection is beautiful. The branding is gorgeous. You know, you can probably see here, I mean, these are their most popular items, and they're doing this for such an amazing cause. So final question, what advice can you give businesses to ensure that their support of social causes is long-term? It's not just a reaction or a crisis response.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for them, you have to figure out, are you really interested in what you're doing, right? And if you're not, don't do it, right? And I've had this issue when I'm doing this Make It Black program, right? It's like, you know, if you're going to sign up for this, you really have to care about the cause. If you don't care about the cause, don't sign up for it because it's going to make you look good, right? And I think that's really important. Every business does not have to stand for everything. That's the truth, right? You can't be everything to everybody. So you have to really pick the things that genuinely and authentically you really care about, and then you go for that. Because then it's not a campaign. It's not just about, hey, it's going to make me look good. The press are going to write about me and I'm going to look good. It's genuinely that I'm going to, this is going to make an impact. So take an example. We Make It Black. I will expect that even if consumers didn't buy those products, those companies should step up anyway and donate to that fund. Not because of they did this to make consumers buy it, but because they understand the impact of what this is going to do for Black communities. And that's the difference between performative activism and true allyship and true advocacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I mean, the Make It Black campaign can be, brought into so many different industries, beyond beauty. And I think it's just I think this is the beginning is what I'm saying. And I'm so excited to see what you do next.
It is.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Yes, absolutely.
Is. We're working with a few companies. Yeah, and we're working on a few campaigns that are going to roll out soon. And already the one we're going to do next year, you're going to see that it's going to be so cross-category. This one, we set it up in 3 months. So it's very tough to pull people together in 3 months, especially when it comes to a packaging change. So next year is going to be bigger and better. But even before next year, we have some other programs we're going to launch in between the year too.
The fact that you did this in 3 months is mind-blowing. I mean, these are iconic, massive brands, so it just shows the power of your message, absolutely. So we are so excited, to have you here today, as always. This is truly an incredible program to get behind. You can shop all these amazing items and more on the site. And can you tell everyone where they can shop the pieces online and how they can get involved in Pull Up for Change?
Yeah, so you can shop the pieces. Ulta.com is the easiest place because it's the one place you can get all brands and put it in your cart at the same time. So to make your life easy, go to Ulta.com. Just search Make It Black on the search bar and you see all of the Make It Black products. 100% of the proceeds of this product the net proceeds is going to the Pull Up for Change Small Business Impact Fund, which is going to be deploying grants to Black founders. So please do that. Go to makeitblack.org if you need to find out more about the initiative. Follow us on Instagram. We're Pull Up for Change on Instagram, or Make It Black Official on Instagram, and on every other social media platform, we're just Make It Black or Pull Up for Change. So check us out, follow us, support, and every single day keep supporting Black-owned businesses, because that's the way you're going to make the biggest economic impact.
Absolutely, and be sure to shop as well. So thank you so much to you and Blair for taking time out of your day to talk about these incredible ventures. This was so inspiring, and I know I can't wait to go home and shop, so I know you guys are probably online shopping right now. That wraps up my segment here as part of the Strivers Initiative in partnership with Mastercard. With that, I'll turn it over to the one and only Arian to close out the day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you again to Luz, Blair, Sharon, Shalonda, Renee, Shamina, and Jacqueline, and all the incredible women who have joined us here today in Los Angeles. What an inspiration. And huge congratulations to the 2 LA Fearless Fund grant recipients, Megan Smith of Megan Renee and Angela Stevens of Conscious Curls. And thank you to all of you at home for tuning into the first Strivers destination of our virtual multi-city roadshow. We're thrilled you could join us for this important conversation and hear from this inspiring group of women on how you can shop, share, and support this community of Strivers. Make sure you join us at the next stop of the Strivers Roadshow. We'll be coming to you live from Atlanta on Tuesday, April 20th. Head to createcultivate.com to reserve your virtual seat and discover all of the Strivers Roadshow destinations ahead. Stay tuned.